Don't drink so much after work, Greg. That's good. That was in London, by the way. That was terrible 2 years for my health. No, two things I'll tell you. One is, yes, it's what I was talking about, but I'll sum it up like this. You don't have a future in recruitment, particularly with the emergence of automation and AI, unless you have highly sophisticated human influencing skills. Recruitment is made up a series of moments of truth, taking a job order, preparing a candidate for interview, debriefing the client after interview, making the offer, countering a counter offer. There's dozens of them. That's where the leverage is, because all the rest of the job will be automated and machines will do it far better than us. But ChatGPT can't handle a counter offer. Nor can it convince a candidate to go for an interview when in your heart you know she should go. And then she goes because you articulated it to her and she loves it and she gets the job. Well, that's where the value in recruitment is. So highly sophisticated, and that means if you believe that, and if you don't, you're wrong. If you believe that, then you need to understand that you've got to really engage with people and you can't hide behind digital. We've got to use the technology for what it's brilliant at, but use our influencing skills for what that's brilliant at. That's the first one. And the second one is guard your reputation, the most valuable thing you have that you take from job to job. There's only two things you take when you move. One is your skills, which you own. Unless you steal a computer, Angela, which would be silly. The only two things you'll take is your skills and your reputation. And I think recruiters would be well advised to take a longer term view and understand that if you really want to be long term in this business, which, by the way, the vast majority of recruiters who enter this business don't last 2 years, and by 5 years, it's fallen off to 20% survival rate. If you really want, and then they leave the industry and say it's a Mickey Mouse industry, it's not rocket science. But what it really means is I couldn't do it well. So you've got to build your reputation. And your reputation is made up not of what you put on LinkedIn. What you put on LinkedIn will amplify what is already a good reputation, but it won't hide a bad reputation, because a bad reputation or a good reputation is made up of all the small moments of interaction with people, the phone call returned or not returned, the snappy reply, the white lie you told a client, which wasn't a white lie, it was a black lie, and the client found out, and they'll never trust you. And you will find that not only will you sleep a lot better at night, but you'll also find that over time you get recommendations, referrals, repeat business, opportunities, introductions, doors open. And that is very good for your self-esteem, but it's also good for your commercial success. And so I would advise people, sophisticated human influencing skills to create outcomes is where the magic in recruitment is. And if your job does not get you doing that, and if your job is just screening resumes and referring resumes and setting up interviews, logistics, you won't have a job in 2 years because other stuff will do it quicker. But if you can influence people for the greater good, when I say influencing, I don't mean pushing someone into a job she doesn't want that's not good for her.
No.
I mean influencing for the greater good, like advising a client that the salary is too low. It's all the old stuff, but it's just that a lot of people have made a living out of recruitment without those skills, and they won't anymore.
I think that's a really good point. Make sure, again, it's all about the interactions. It's all about the relationships, the influencing skills. That's where we make a difference. So let's focus on those, because that's where we'll still have an industry in even 5 years' time. Who knows where we're going to be?
Who knows beyond that? But I'd say you're exactly right. By the way, I've just seen somebody on the chat from Johannesburg. Vanessa. Goeiemorgen, Vanessa. Hoe gaan het met jou vandaag? She'll understand.
Join a brand where you've got good methodology and good training, and where there are mentors there that have been in the industry for a while. There is nothing like sitting next to a recruiter and listening in on those interviewing conversations. You find those golden questions, the one that I use every day when negotiating salaries. What would you say yes to? What would you say no to? What would have you opening a bottle of champagne? That single snippet has been been the change to my salary negotiations over the years, and I got that from an MRI recruiter who shared their expertise. So training methods, who are your mentors, how long have they been there, and if they've come from industry, that's even better. And the other thing that I would say is cultivate your metrics. Metrics are not a bad thing, so understand. I mean, we all got really nerdy about our metrics in the office because we knew exactly what to tweak when something was going wrong. So how many marketing presentations does it take for you to convert to a client conversation? How many CVs do you send out to get a send out, an interview? How many manager interviews do you send out in order to get a placement, a hire? All of those things are the feedback mechanisms to your personal development, and you can tweak each one and watch your billings rise or your efficiency gain. So own your metrics and know what they are. I think that would be the other piece of advice.
I'm glad you've added onto that. We had Greg Savage on Monday, and we ended up talking about fill rates and tweaking that, and just looking at what is your job to placement, and how many are you actually placing at the moment, and what's going wrong, and therefore make a difference on that. You don't have to do any more work, but you could potentially double your money on there.
Joining recruitment for the first time, I would say that this is a hard one, because I think the recruiters that do come in tend to be fairly self-directed. I mean, the ones that I've seen that are successful haven't had a lot of hand-holding needed. But I guess if they're entering in the world of recruitment today, which is very different from when I started, I think the first thing you've got to realize is you've got to really build your own sort of presence in the industry or in the market. Like we used to call this personal branding, etc. But I've since learned, maybe I'm biased now because of doing brain food and what have you. But I've since learned how important it is to have weight in the industry in some way. When you're starting from zero, obviously you're kind of like the little turtle in planet Earth, just emerging from the beach and swimming away. It's like you got a long way to go, bro. However, you give yourself the best chances if you think not just about operational delivery of what you're doing, but think always about how do I build network, how do I build profile, how do I elevate myself in this particular market or vertical I'm in, so that you become someone that is respected by candidates as well as colleagues and what have you. You can do a lot of that outside of the operational activity of recruitment. So yeah, that's the sort of advice I'd say. You've got a parallel process, what you've got to do work-wise in terms of making money, but also think about, okay, how do I kind of build brand, and how do I make sure that I'm going to be like very heavily networked in this space.
The thing I wish I'd been told and what I'd known now is you impact everybody's life, and you need to have that consideration. It isn't just about a sales mentality of hitting those numbers. You have got an impact on people's future career, their progression, their home life, the way that you communicate with those people, the way that you communicate either unsuccessful candidates. If you do it the right way, you'll have a strong network around you still. They are probably more important than the candidates that you place. And I wish I'd known that 13 years ago. It's like I said, it'd probably taken me 5 or 6 years to realise that myself, to go, actually, the people that I don't place are the ones that are so important in my own networking circle. I really wish that other recruiters would see that, and I really wish that other recruiters would help each other out by referring those candidates even. But I think we just need to understand that there are humans on the other side of what we're doing. They aren't just names, they're not just candidates. They've got feelings, they've got families, they've got ambition. And I think for me, once I realised that, that's when, it sounds daft, but the game changed. It wasn't just sales and placements, it was humans.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's going to be the workout for today then, is to think about everyone that you're speaking to, the relationship that you have with them, and what's your thoughts towards them, what's your objectives. And yeah, if it's to help make this person's life better, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Pippa, pick a niche. So definitely think right from the start, what is my thing going to be? Sector-wise, role-wise, geographic-wise, it's much easier if you've got a niche. And I do think Debbie might have said this yesterday, which is ideally don't just set up on your own. Go and work for a decent agency to start with. So I probably in early 2020 was getting a call every single week, and for the couple of years before that, from people saying, I've been working in pharmaceuticals. I'm going to set up a recruitment agency. What should I do? I've been selling crisps for walkers. You know, every single week someone would say to me, I know my sector, I'm going to set up a recruitment agency. And to not one of those single people did I say, yeah, go for it. To all of them I said, go and find a recruitment business who operates in the space you want to operate, work with them for a couple of years. And that is still my advice. And I don't know whether are you aligned with that, Angela?
Oh. Maybe I'm allergic to it. I'm not sure. I am. I get these calls all the time, and my man says, "Okay, what do you know about the recruitment process?" And they're like, "Oh, there's a process." They just think it's easy, and each element is easy. But I mean, we used to train, Alan and I, the A to Z at London Associates of Recruitment. So that's 26 steps.
Two other things I've got is keep an eye on the figures, the KPIs. Never, I mean, you know, it's salesy shit, everyone knows it, but you don't lose track of what you're trying to achieve, and you do need to measure that in some way. Yeah. I had a whiteboard with the fees racking up in different colours, showing what percentage they were. There was always someone who would put things at 95% and you knew they'd never happen. So decent KPI measurements, really important. Yeah. And the other thing I had was play the long game with clients and candidates. And that comes back to the ugly, which is it's not about shoehorning the wrong person into the wrong job. It's about thinking long term for those businesses and those job seekers. That's really difficult to do in some agencies, because some agencies you are really heavily targeted on hitting that fee. But the best recruiter I've ever known in my life, Emma McDonald, she's amazing, and she was always so focused on, you know, I'm going to want to come back to this person in 3 years to make the next placement for them. And so it made her make the right choices.
Recruitment. And anyone looking to get into recruitment just now, they need to be thinking, how can I be useful? What agency owners and managers appreciate more than anything else is people who take the initiative, people who plan ahead and do things in purpose and make themselves very useful. So if you know a market well, if you I used to specialize in the plastic injection molding sector for my sins, and I knew that market inside out. So if you're working in recruitment or in accountancy or architecture or finance or whatever, if you know the market inside out and you have connections there, then that's making you ahead of the game. Right now, there'll be lots of recruiters out there in a tough market who have been let go, especially on the TA side, who might have been agency recruiters before. So it means there's a lot more people in the pool, and the people who are in agencies who are seeing their markets maybe drying up a little are looking to pivot to other sectors. So if you're looking to get into recruitment, then you need to think, what are the busiest sectors? Where can I make a difference? And also thinking about, where can I bring something that agency doesn't have? So if I have a diverse background, if I am of a particular age group, if I can work in ways that older recruiters maybe are less comfortable to, then that could be great. So if I might be really used to using the likes of TikTok or Instagram, or going to where candidates are to find them. If I've got the inside track on something that an agency doesn't have, then in an interview for a job as a recruiter, I would really be playing those up.
I think my advice would be, please find an industry, a space, a sector that you care about, because once you care about what you do as a recruiter, the success comes. And make sure that you're doing your due diligence, okay? Not all recruitment businesses are the same, regardless of what they say. You know, we know the studies show us in terms of what is motivating our Gen Zers, one of the largest populations in the workforce by 2025, right? It is absolutely key for those folks to be able to show up as themselves. And you need to make, regardless of what those values on that company's wall say, you are like, show me your receipts. I need to know what showing up as myself can look like. And Gabi, it's interesting what you were saying, you know, challenge the status quo, look at how things are done differently, you know, bring in your ideas and all of that. But how many recruitment businesses do we actually see embracing that You know, it is like, it's limited. That is a perfect example of an inclusive recruitment environment where we can show up as ourselves, where we have a voice, where we are regarded, where we're not seen at the bottom of the pecking order, where actually we've got access to those who have the power to change and evolve, and they're listening to us. And from what I see speaking to Gen Zers, that's ultimately one of the reasons why they leave recruitment businesses, is because nothing changes. The promises are broken. They can't show up as themselves. They've got to insert themselves as, you know, what the business says they have to be and how they have to show up. And their entrepreneurial spirit is like squeezed into this strange box. And, you know, even things like the way that people express themselves and their personal branding and what they put on LinkedIn and their social media and all of that stuff, it's like, oh, can you just do it a little bit more like this and a bit less like you, and then everything will be great. So it's like, just make sure that you ask the right questions and you find a place where you feel that you belong.
Yes, you may be coming into a room with people who have got 23 plus years experience right in this field, but actually you coming in fresh face and having had experience in other areas makes you see things very, very differently. And there was definitely a lot of that when I walked into the recruitment world. I was seeing the guys do stuff and I'm like, but why? That makes no sense. Like, why are you doing it this way? Why are you doing it that way? And actually that whole questioning process, I would encourage people who come into these businesses, don't just accept the fact that this has worked for 20 years as okay. Bring your voice, bring your opinions, and actually don't just bring your opinions, bring a solution. And that's what we did. And that's actually, to be fair, why Tool Recruitment was born, because I saw a problem, I solutioned it, and I got on with it. But I think anyone who's joining in, question things, ask questions, and then come up with a solution that you're like, if we did this, this would do this, this would be the benefit. Can we give it a go? But don't just go whingy. Make a change, right? Make a change, own it.
I love that. I write onboarding programs for companies, and when they do have their probationary appraisal presentation for their graduation at the end of that, they have to come along with one key idea that if it was their business, what would they change? And they have to then cost out and project manage what would they do and how would they do it and how much would it cost. So they have to present that. And that's just such a great idea, because from day one, you're letting them know their projects and you're saying, we want you to find something that can make this company better. And if you're getting people coming in quite regularly, if you're growing quite quickly, what great way of gathering that information. So make it part of the onboarding process, make it acceptable for them to challenge, because that's where people don't, isn't it? If they think, oh, I can't say anything.
Well, they get bored as well. Mentally, they get bored. Like people don't like working in a world that's inefficient. They just don't. It's demoralizing. You feel a bit beaten. You feel a bit downtrodden. And I see it a lot with a lot of recruiters we talk to. And they're like, I just want to shake things up because I know if I did this, it would be better. So empower that from day one and lean into that. And if that's the type of person you are, crack on and go and excel in that business because they need you. They want you.
Yeah.
Stand up.